As soon as I heard the news, I felt the blood rush from my body and my consciousness almost faded away. I tried to plead that it was just a bad dream, but the calm words of the doctor delivered over the receiver told me that this was reality. Oh, no. Michael. It was the news that his beloved only son was in critical condition. How could it be? He looked so healthy last summer. I can't believe it. Michael is 40 years old and in the prime of his career. He proudly reported to me that he had been promoted steadily at work and had been given an important post. Last year, during his bond vacation, he took time out of his busy schedule to go home to his parents' house, a 4.5-hour drive each way. At the time, Michael showed no signs of illness, and I was relieved to see that he was in good health, but only a few months after his return home, the results of a physical exam that Michael had booked revealed that he had cancer. The disease seemed to be more advanced than he had expected, and he was hospitalized on the doctor's recommendation. Fortunately, he had a girlfriend, Jenny, whom he was living with on the premise of marriage, and she devotedly supported him in his fight against the disease and kept him updated on his condition and hospital stay. I wanted to be there for my son as a mother, but it took more than 4 hours by train and plane to get to the hospital where Michael was staying. In addition, I had an elderly husband at home who was recuperating from a chronic illness. Considering the burden he would be under, I could not just casually go away. I will pick you up. No, it's okay. I'll go to the hospital by myself. You should stay with Michael. It will be best for her. Yes. I understand. When I contacted Jenny when I learned my son was in critical condition, she was worried about me because I was not familiar with the city and suggested I go pick him up. But if Jenny leaves the hospital, there will be no one to accompany Michael. I didn't want to leave my son alone, who is still fighting hard between life and death. Besides, Jenny was the woman who had devoted herself to Michael and supported him during the 3 years they lived together. She never rushed my son, who was cautious and hesitant to get married, but always encouraged him to concentrate on his work. I put my trust in Jenny as the only one who could be my son's wife. That is why I could trust her with my son. I'm going to go now, Michael. Wait for me. This might be the last time she would see her son's face. I was worried about my own physical condition and the unfamiliarity of traveling in such a short period of time, but I had no time to hesitate. I bowed down to my relatives who lived nearby and asked them to take care of my husband, who could not move freely. I packed a few days' worth of luggage and valuables in my bag and left for the bus stop for the nearest train station. It is a 15-minute walk, but the bus stops near the neighborhood shopping district where I usually do my shopping, so it seemed like a smooth ride to the station. In the countryside, transportation is not as convenient as in the city, and buses only stop once an hour, or at most twice an hour. If I missed the bus, I would have to wait an hour for the next one. Thank God. I made it in time. I ran to the bus stop with my breath knocked out, suppressing my impatience, and managed to catch the bus just in time. No good. I don't want to get too old to be out of breath after this. I looked around the bus and saw that the seats were already full. Cursing my declining strength and aging body, I held onto the railing and tried to catch my breath. Go ahead. Oh, you're so nice. Thank you. A boy of junior high school age quickly stood up and offered me his seat. Grateful for his kindness, I sat down comfortably on the seat with my baggage in my arms. The boy had slung his school bag back over his left shoulder and was standing on the railing near the entrance. I gazed at the boy's still somewhat innocent profile and thought back vaguely to the time when my son was in junior high school. "Emily, I'm going out for a bit." "Are you going out for drinks again tonight?" "It's a business relationship, so you can't really blame them." "I see. Don't be too late." "Yeah. My husband, who worked in the lumber industry, supported the family financially, and my job was to take care of the home and raise the children. My only son, Michael, grew up to be a clever and intelligent child, but when he entered junior high school, he stopped talking to his family and tended to miss school for any reason. When I discussed Michael's condition with my husband, he did not take kindly to the situation, saying, "All sons are the same, it's just a phase." Lately he often comes home from junior high school with a gloomy look on his face. I wonder if something happened at school. "You care too much, leave him alone." "But my husband is a hard worker, but he is not interested in child rearing." Michael became more and more introverted after that, and as a mother I could not leave him alone. "Michael, can I come in?" I had to protect my son as a mother since I could not rely on my husband. "I just made dinner. Would you like to join me in the living room?" "I don't want it." "But you must be hungry." Michael's reply was curt, even though I called out to him at the door, "I'll be waiting for you." I tried calling out to him again and again, but "I told you I don't want it." He continued to reject me, yelling at me in a loud voice. Like my husband, my son was a kind-hearted child who loved animals, plants, and nature, although he did not speak much. When he had just started elementary school, he bought a flower with his first allowance and gave it to me with a letter saying, "Thank you, Mom." It was hard to believe that Michael, a clumsy but sensitive and considerate child, would reject his family and surroundings without reason. "Michael, you don't have to come out, I'll leave the food in the hallway." I began to bring him trays of food every day so as not to push his closed-minded son any further than necessary. Whenever I did so, I made a point of talking to him and having short conversations with him so as not to annoy him. Michael, who had been stubborn, began to respond to simple questions. "I came to take down the dishes. It's getting cold these days, so you should take a bath before you go to bed. I've boiled some water for you." "All right, I'll be there in a little while." When the mother-son relationship had been restored to the point where they could communicate with each other, Michael had entered the second year of junior high school. However, he still tended to skip junior high school and was a slacker. "I'm going to go to the supermarket, I'll be back in time for supper." "Yeah. Michael did not go to school that day either. When I had asked Michael about junior high school once before, he had shouted in an unusual manner, "School matters are none of your business." He once shouted at me with an uncommonly fierce sword. Maybe there are circumstances that I can't talk to my family about. In order to help my son, I need to act. I went to the junior high school without telling Michael. It must be a rare case for a parent or guardian to visit a school on a day other than the day of a parent-teacher conference or class visit. Therefore, I called the school in advance to ask permission. I met with my son's homeroom teacher in an after-school classroom after the students had gone home. "You must be Michael's mother. How can I help you today?" I sat down in the chair I was led to and decided to cut to the chase without so much as a hello. "Actually, I'm worried about my son's school life. How is he doing in his class? I discussed without concealment the fact that he did not want to go to junior high school, intended to skip school, and that he did not want to talk about school even at home. The homeroom teacher, wrinkling her brow, simply replied, "From my eyes, I didn't see any particular change." I don't know about that, but Michael has loved studying since elementary school, and he is not the kind of child who would miss days of school for no reason. If there has been any change, no matter how small, I would like to know. Despite my frantic pursuit, there was no change in the teacher's clerical reply. There is no evidence that any problems have occurred in this class, and there is nothing I can tell you at this stage. However, it may be that Michael does not fit in well with the class. I will be watching the situation more carefully. I will be sure to contact you if there are any problems. Is that all right? Yes. No matter how hard I tried, he insisted that there was no problem with the school and that no progress could be expected. I went home feeling something that did not add up, but even after that, there was no progress reported from the class teacher, and Michael's truancy only worsened. Then, in December, just before Michael's winter vacation, a decisive incident occurred. "Michael, what's wrong?" "Michael." "It's nothing." "How can it be nothing? You're covered in mud all over." Michael went to school for the first time in a week, but came home with his uniform, bag, and shoes covered in mud. Michael was lying on his face and taking off his shoes. I just fell down. Even if he had tripped and fallen, it was unnatural for his back to be covered in mud and dirt. At this point, I was convinced that Michael was being harassed by his classmates. "Michael ... please tell me the truth ... aren't you having a hard time at school?" "I bet you would say it's my fault anyway, just like the teacher. I'm being treated like this. Being made fun of. It's all because I don't fit in with the class." "Hey, stop it." Michael shouted loudly and threw the bag at me. The bag hit me in the abdomen and I involuntarily cowered in place. But it was Michael who was in pain, not me. He must have endured all this alone. Perhaps his homeroom teacher is not on Michael's side. I don't think they would recognize the problem as a problem. I don't want to do this anymore. If I could disappear, I would ... I want to disappear. Michael's heartbreaking cry made my eyes burn. The son who could neither blame anyone nor fight back, but just endured and blamed himself. I vowed to be the only one who could understand my son so that he would never have to think about wanting to disappear again, so that he would not be hurt anymore. It's okay if you don't go to school, it's okay to take a day off rather than go through the pain. I hugged Michael and sobbed together with him. After that day, we took a new step forward as parent and child. After that, Michael gave up commuting to school and went to a regular high school. After hard work, he was able to find a job and left his parents' home. Airport. The bus announcement brought me back to myself, and before I knew it, I had arrived at the nearest station to the airport. After disembarking with his luggage, he headed for the airport, checking the transfer information he had written down in his notepad. Well, the departure date should be. I managed to get there with the help of a friendly station attendant, but the departure gate was crowded with people and noisy. I checked the bulletin board and listened attentively to the broadcast, which was in the middle of giving out information on flight delays. The flight had been delayed due to an accident, and the departure time was undecided. Oh no. I was almost crushed with anxiety and frustration as I was surrounded by a crowd of people wandering around and trying to get their tickets refunded. My son, who was in critical condition, was on the verge of death even as I stood there. I wanted to rush to the hospital as soon as possible. However, I am not an internet expert and do not have a smartphone, so it was difficult for me to find out other means. What should I do with Michael? I was stuck there, puzzled, when he asked me, "Are you all right?" A strange middle-aged woman stopped me from behind. Apparently she was concerned about my pale face and called out to me. When I explained the situation, the woman looked surprised and said, "I was also having trouble with my plane. I'm sure you must be worried about your son at this difficult time. If you like, I can drive you home." I can't ask you to go that far. I had no idea that I would be allowed to ride in the car with someone I had never met before. This person was a very friendly and kind woman, and she readily offered, "We have the same destination, and we will only be traveling together until the end of the trip, so please don't hesitate." She was very kind and gracious in her offer. This was a godsend. I bowed my head, thanked her, and decided to take advantage of her kindness. The man who came to pick me up in his car was the woman's husband. "Thank you so much, thank you for your help." No, we are here for each other in times of trouble." The couple took the initiative to be casual with us in the car in order to ease our tension. I was grateful for their thoughtfulness. The couple had a son who had just been born, and when they heard about my situation, they couldn't believe it was someone else's problem. Soon the topic of conversation turned to the couple's love story. "You two have been living together for 8 years. Yes, I'm ashamed to say that I was very reluctant to get married. At the time, I was halfway through my career and lacked self-confidence, and people around me had been teasing me about my eccentricity since I was a child. I wondered if I was qualified to start a family with someone else and raise a child as a father, but my wife believed in me and supported me by my side." Well, the couple's episode was the same as the state of their sons, Michael and Jenny. I sometimes rushed him to wait for Jenny, but I think he might have been struggling with the same thing. He was struggling with relationships in junior high school and wanted to disappear, but he was still fighting to gain confidence. "Michael, it's going to be all right. I am sure your son will overcome his illness." Yes, thank you. I choked up as a hot sensation rose in my chest. Thanks to the couple's cooperation, I arrived safely at the hospital where Michael and Jenny were waiting for me. "Your son made it through the pass safely, sir." "Oh, thank goodness." Michael survived. Jenny, who was standing beside me, hugged me as I was about to collapse after receiving the doctor's report. "Let's believe in your power of life, Michael. I know he will do his best." She gently took my hand as tears welled up in her eyes. After Michael survived, he was back to fighting for his life, but miraculously, his condition was getting better. Since that day when I rushed to the hospital after receiving the critical news, I had started to visit my son regularly. I couldn't thank Jenny enough for supporting my family as if she were my own daughter, every time she stayed at my apartment or picked me up at the station. "Mom, you came. How are you feeling?" "Oh, I'm fine. I've been sleeping a lot, which is boring." Michael, who could afford to talk lightly these days, told me joyfully that he had a new dream. "When I get out of the hospital, I'm going to get married to Jenny. Then I want to invite my mother and father and live together as a family again. When I was a kid, there were times when I wanted to throw my life away because it was so hard and boring, but the moment I realized that my life could end, I realized once again that I didn't want to disappear yet. Your future is still ahead of you. Michael's fresh face showed no sign of the old days. His son's face, filled with the will to live, was strong and dazzling. Seeing him like that, I could not stop the tears from flowing.